great. As always, I will ask you to confirm in the chat that you can hear me all right. Before we get started, please tell me in the chat if you can hear my voice. I'm not going to be rapping today. I said I'm going to be doing that on Breakpoint, and I will commit to that. But yeah, it's great to be back on stage after 2 very busy months. And I'm here as always with my great co host. You probably know him. Michael, how are you, sir?
Hey, Santi, and hello, community. It's fantastic to be here as always. Anytime we host these, and I have to say, Santi, this is probably the most excited I've ever been to join you on a town hall.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear. We have a very action packed town hall. We have a bunch of guests, super interesting guests that we have today. Um, Team members. We have guests also coming from Solana today. So that's also awesome. But I think we can get started. Um, so today, guys, we're also going to be testing the stream sharing functionality here in the Discord. According to Discord FAQs, the maximum is 300 people at the same time on a stream. So don't worry if you're not able to join the stream once we start streaming. We will also be posting all the clips, pictures, everything in the sneak peeks channel here in Discord as well. Um, Again, I tweeted this yesterday, but this is probably going to be one of the longest stone holes we ever had. We have we don't want to be limited by time for this one just because we have a lot of content, and as I said, we have a lot of super cool guests. So yeah, it's probably going to be a long one, but we are also going to try to do some Q&A. um, so finally, also before we start with the topics for today, I wanted to say Eid Mubarak to all our community members who are celebrating today and tomorrow. Michael, now are you ready to get started with the town hall?
I am ready. Let's go, man.
Let's do it. So first, in some news, Magic Eden is going to be dropping the core episode number 6 today. Our team is working on it. It's probably going to be live in around 30 minutes, I think. That's the latest I heard. So make sure to check that out on Magic Eden. It's the last episode before Core goes to break. As you know, Core is our comic, and it will go to a 2 months break. And this is also the longest episode we ever had for Core. So make sure to check it out. You can read it on play.stratlas.com. Also, in other news, we also launched the Atlas Star 17. So since we are talking about reading, don't forget it because it's still fresh and it reveals a few more secrets of the Star Atlas economy and also talks in great detail about product roadmap updates that you will also see here today. So make sure to also check that out. Dominic is going to be posting that in the chat right now. Um, Now let's move to some community updates real quick. I wanted to give a shout out to the Star Atlas community account. So if you like to follow everything that is happening in the Star Atlas ecosystem, all the projects that are being worked on by the community, make sure to go follow the account that is run by the intern. Um, so make sure you're following and supporting the guy. Um,
Not to
it's
mention some world-class memes coming out of that account. So
yes, exactly. Yeah, top tier memes, I would say, and very fast production of memes. So make sure to go to give that a follow. Of course, you will be updated on everything related to the Star Atlas ecosystem. And also another thing that we wanted to mention today is something that we have been seeing over the last few months, and even going back as far as the fall of 2022. Um, there has been a super heartwarming trend in the Star Atlas community where people have been donating their rewards from Faction Fleet and the lockers. So we wanted to give a shout out to all the people that are doing charity work with the Star Atlas Faction Fleet and also locker emissions. And a special shout out to Atlas Grace, the Stardust Economy, and Scythe Road to 100, because they have been at the forefront of that trend. And well, they deserve a at the last they deserve is the least they deserve is a shout out. And also, if you want to know how to get involved, make sure to reach out to them. And I'm also sure they are here in the Townhall chat right now.
I'm, I'm really
Yep.
loving all of these charitable initiatives out there. Atlas Grace is the one that's just sticks out to me. Because I just saw a post about it. All of these are fantastic, but we made a little impact. Santi suggested that people donate some faction claims to Atlas Grace. I know they got like 10 of the tier 0 claims, or excuse me, tier 1 claims. So helping to keep those resources stocked up and the funds flowing on that. But absolutely love these initiatives.
Yeah, we just wanted to give them a huge shout out here in the town hall because they deserve it, and thank you for doing that. They were speaking about how much of a change $1 or $2 can be, and I remember also always Archetype saying that in Cambodia people actually have a full meal for less than $1. So we are actually having impact in Cambodia. So that's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, super cool. Now let's move to some updates related to the community. We're going to talk about the IP. And for the IP updates, we of course have the man himself on stage. We have Dan Park. Dan, how are you, my friend?
Hey Santi, good to be here. It's been a while.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you back. I remember we had you on stage when you just joined the company. I think it was like over a year ago. So we had to
Yeah, it
bring
might
you
be about
back.
that. It is good to be back.
We had to definitely bring you back on stage. And for today, I wanted to ask you a question, Dan, about the IP. We have been getting this question a lot from the community. And I know there has been some updates on the Star Atlas IP. So I wanted to know what are these updates, if you can briefly explain that, and why this new IP policy is actually massive for the Star Atlas community.
Yeah, of course. We're really excited to be rolling out basically a whole new approach to letting the community use Star Atlas intellectual property. This includes everything that's creative and defines what Star Atlas is. Art, gameplay, videos, faction logos, characters, the lore and story. We're basically going to open it up so that community members will be able to monetize or commercialize any sort of creative product that they come up with that is created using Star Atlas IP. So currently, right now, you can only use Star Atlas IP for non-commercial or not-for-profit purposes. So we've seen a lot of really cool content created in the community, things like guides and videos and free-to-play games like Tufa Attack. But now you'll be able to explore commercial horizons, and so we'll just see what people can do here. But it's going to be open to everybody. It's a change to our base terms of service. There's no need to own any NFTs. All you need is an idea, and then you just comply with some pretty straightforward terms, and then you can just get straight to building. In general, there is not going to be a pre-approval process. You will need to fill out a form to give us some contact info and some details on what you're building, but then you can just dive right in. So you can create things like software, media. Yes, I see a question in the chat already. Yes, you can create merch, t-shirts, mugs, ship miniatures, figurines. You can make board games. You could even launch some NFTs or create some cool art. Create a movie. So there will be some limitations on commercializing a video game experience. So for that, you will need to seek pre-approval and a custom license, but almost everything else is fair game. There will be some requirements built in, and those will be detailed in the terms of service. But just a general overview is first, there will be some quality control measures. So no scams, nothing misleading, no hate speech, things like that, right? Also, there will be a non-confusion requirement. So you'll have to come up with your own creative trade name that can be based on the Star Atlas metaverse, but cannot use the actual word Star Atlas in your product name, although you can use that to describe what you're doing. So you can make something like Puna bed sheets, but you can't call it Star Atlas bed sheets. So we will make Star Atlas IP available in one repository, but it'll basically include essentially everything that's a final publicly available creative work. It won't necessarily include everything that's still in the pipeline and still being developed, but rather more of what is considered Star Atlas canon. There will be a royalty imposed on gross revenue that you generate. Gross revenue meaning amounts transacted from sales, fees, and other sources. But there will be no royalty owed at all on the first $1 million in revenue that you generate. So after you reach $1 million in revenue, then there will be a pretty light royalty imposed to continue commercializing your product. In all cases, the royalty will be less than 10% of gross revenue, and actually considerably lower depending on the industry that you're operating in, because we know that some industries generally operate with lower margins. So in terms of the logo, I see a question in there already. So we are creating a special version of the Star Atlas logo that you will be able to stamp on your products. We'll be revealing that next week with the rollout of the new IP policy, because it is happening next week for sure. There's one other requirement is if you are creating something that is basically blockchain adjacent, and if it's feasible for your product, you'll need to implement some sort of Atlas or Polis payment option and incorporate the use of Star Atlas NFTs, again, if feasible. So that's pretty much the entirety of the policy. We really hope that it's going to empower the community to help us define what is Star Atlas. We've already received a ton of inbound interest. People are interested in making things like merch or board games and beyond, and we're fully supportive. So we want to, and we'll be also looking for ways to highlight some of the best community-built projects in the future as well. If you have any questions, I'm here now, but also you can always ping me on Discord, and we can fire up a chat and start discussing what you're working on. So the new policy will be ready to roll out next week, and I think that's about it, Santi.
Thank you, Dan. Those are great updates, actually, and I know the community has been asking for them for a while. So thank you for coming to stage and sharing everything. I know a lot of community members are working on some really, really cool projects. So as Dan said, if you guys have like any ideas or any question about how this works, just reach out to us. We are here to listen to those questions and also help you brainstorm ideas as well. I love to just hop on calls with community members and brainstorm what can be done. So never hesitate to reach out.
We really appreciate that presentation, Dan. Before you jump off, just in case there is one quick question, and Santi, this is a bit of an audible, but we might even want to let one question come in right here. But just to elaborate a bit on what Dan said, well, first and foremost, suffice to say, we lost Santi, but a ton of thought went into the preparation of all of these materials, and this really came on the tail end of the last town hall that we hosted, where we mentioned our intentions to be more open with access to Star Atlas IP and the idea of facilitating and cultivating innovation around the ecosystem. A big part of our focus outside of just making really enjoyable gameplay content is to establish what we believe to be a functional metaverse-based economy, one that operates in much the same way that a nation state would operate or a global economy would operate. And so this, we believe, is a big step in moving towards greater decentralization and accessibility and opportunities for people that are super interested in what we're doing at Star Atlas. So very happy about all of that. Dan, I think you mentioned the logo. We should also mention that there is intended to be a full brand guideline within this repository as well. So not only the logo usage, but things like font faces, where they can be used, style guidelines around color usage across applications. So it's intended to be pretty open. But anything else to say on the brand guidelines component of this?
Yeah, so some of the brand guidelines will be available next week, and some of them will probably take a little longer to roll out, but it'll be a very comprehensive toolkit, essentially. So there's all these kind of guides in terms of how to use different fonts in different circumstances, arrange colors in certain ways. I think you'll all find it very helpful in terms of incorporating it and making it fit flexibly for your particular purpose. But yeah, and we're also very open to feedback here as well. So as we roll this out, this is pretty obviously new for us, but I think it's pretty new for the entire space as a whole. The way we're rolling this out. So if you have thoughts on how the brand guideline could be improved or how the repository could be improved, we're open to ideas.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me all right? I'm checking because I lost the connection for a second.
We hear you now, Santi. Yeah, we saw you drop off for a moment, but
Yeah. It's my connection. Always happens during town halls, you know. It's like when you try to give a presentation live.
Never fails. It's always on demo day too. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, for sure. So Dan, something we can do is invite you. We can do a special Atlas brew, and invite you there so people can shoot all their questions.
Sounds great.
Now, this is a live invite to you, Dan. So you have to be committed to it now.
All right, I'm in.
And
awesome. Thank you so much, Dan.
And in lieu of maybe bringing someone on stage for a question specifically right now, Gan Fall posted a message in the chat here about invoices. We'll still be working through some of that. Our intention right now is to invoice on a semi-annual basis, so every 6 months royalty fees would be due and payable. Anything else to say there, Dan? I mean, I'm sure this is all going to evolve through time as we explore this as an avenue for users.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll have to necessarily be a little bit flexible on how we track revenue, because some will be on-chain projects and some will be off-chain. But yes, generally speaking, that'll be. I mean, basically, we're open to dialogue at that point. Once you reach $1 million in revenue, I'm sure we'll have a lot to speak about at that point as well. And there will also be an opportunity to come up with a custom license if for some reason the standard license doesn't exactly fit your business model.
So just one final point from me, because I'm super excited about our next guest. But while this revenue stream, the royalty fees are predominantly an automata revenue stream to date, or going into the future rather, in the near term, it is also our intention to explore pathways where this rev share could be further split and diversified into revenue streams for both the DAO and automata in much the same way that the secondary marketplace fees work today. So with that, great segment. Thank you, Dan. Santi?
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. So yeah, now let's move to the next segment. Again, if any of you guys have any questions related to the IP and how to use it, we'll probably have a brew special with Dan, so he can come and answer all the questions that are related to the IP, how to use it, how to put together your project, and how to do everything basically. So stay tuned for an announcement on that. And thanks again, Dan, for joining us on stage. Now let's move to the next topic. This is definitely one of the main topics for today, for sure, which is Sage movement test. Michael, how are you feeling about the movement test?
Well, I mean, I couldn't be more excited because we are finally approaching a shipping date here, and this whole movement test. I've alluded to this previously in conversation in Discord, but we've taken a bit of a philosophical shift this year in terms of product rollouts and really minimizing what is the minimal viable product, specifically within our Sage product line, and just thinking about how we can launch iterative features that don't create unnecessary work, features that we're able to build upon and further form this foundation of on-chain gaming and on-chain gaming logic. And so super excited to announce today that we do have the official campaign branding for what we've been referring to as the Sage movement test. This is a continuation of the start sequence campaign that we rolled out in November and December of last year, and we are calling this launch Escape Velocity. And very happy to say that this is coming 4 to 6.
You mean April 26th, right?
Yes. What did I say?
You said 4 to 6.
Yeah, man. So April 26th, next Wednesday, we have the first iteration of the Sage product line coming out. Now, I just want to caveat all of that and say that this is still a very early version for us. The intention here is very much to test the underlying technology. We think that it's an incredible accomplishment what the team has done there, and bringing this coordinate system and this movement functionality fully integrated with your wallet directly on chain, and doing that through what we think is going to be a pretty cool application. Of course, we could have just gone out and said, use these transactions to test movement, but we've wrapped all of this up into what is effectively a scavenger hunt contest, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I know one of our guests later in the show is going to be discussing this quite extensively. But the key objective here is to bring your ships into this map and explore the space, and you have the option, the chance of discovering some really cool prizes along the way. Another one of our guests is actually going to be going through the loot table for that loot discovery process. So again, won't elaborate here, but I am very, very happy to say that we have this first iteration of our Sage product line rolling out next week.
That's awesome. We have a date, guys, and we had to do it. I mean, we had the 4 to 6 right in front of our eyes. We had to take it, right, Michael?
It was quite a bit of coordination to pull all of these things together. But yeah, we thought it was kind of a historic moment, and why not memorialize that with an April 26th launch?
That's awesome. That's great. I think we can move to the next segment, Michael, if you want.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so here on stage we have Matt Sorg, also from Solana. Matt, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing great. It's great to have you on stage with us today.
Yeah,
Yeah, great to be here.
Matt, we've been catching up quite a bit lately. You're a return guest. We really appreciate you spending some time with us today. I'm sure our community, who's quite passionate about Solana and very supportive of Solana, appreciates your time as well. But for those people out there that maybe haven't heard from you in the past, do you mind just running through a quick background, your experience in the gaming industry, and what you do today with Solana?
Yeah. Happy to. So, long history in games. Started off in mobile games, but then worked for Riot for about 5 years, which made League of Legends. So I worked much on like the back end, scaling around the world and doing a bunch of things. A lot of it's kind of relevant to what we were talking about here. Is I helped make a lot of their APIs that the community could build off of and do a bunch of really fun things. I also worked at Unity for a little while, the game engine. And then have 2 startups under my belt myself. One of them has nothing to do with gaming. It's a direct-to-consumer hearing aid product, but just been kind of around in a bunch of just tech things, trying to do like really great things. And been at Solana for about a year and a half now, and doing a lot of the tech side. So I interact with Star Atlas a lot, obviously, because of all the great things they're doing.
Yeah. Your second project, by the way, not to go too far off on a tangent, but can you tell people a little bit about that? Because I think it's reminds me of my very young days. But you want to talk about that one a little bit at all?
The hearing aid one, or the
It's kind of like
Go ahead.
The digital pogs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So some colleagues of mine at Unity, we were just kind of like talking. We're always tinkering and stuff, and one of them got his in contact with the owner of the digital rights to Pogs, which is like this crazy popular game in the early 90s that something like 3 billion Pogs were minted or whatever, like physical discs basically were made during that time. And so we got the digital version of it, and we're just doing a lot of fun explorations with that, making little mini games and just expanding on the IP and what does that mean for the digital world. And what's great is because it already had that physical component where you're already trading, you're already changing ownership, and you're already doing a lot of these things that Web3 now enables in the digital world. So it's just been a super fun project.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, they were these little cardboard circular cutouts that would always get destroyed depending on the slammer that you would use. The slammer was how you would flip these things over, but it was essentially a gambling and racketeering
Yeah,
enterprise when I was in 5th grade. It was a
very
lot of
competitive.
yeah, very cool, man. So maybe bringing this back on track more into Solana. Now you've mentioned you've been with them for about a year and a half. Solana has been taking more of a gaming approach, or at least an emphasis to gaming. And I was just kind of curious overall, like outside of gaming and outside of your specific emphasis with the Solana Foundation, what do you think are the most emergent trends in blockchain today? And maybe more specifically, what do you see really coming out of projects developing on top of Solana over the next year and maybe beyond?
I think the main competitive advantage or the main thing that's starting to see product market fit is whenever you can have an ecosystem effects, whenever you can have multiple entities coming together and kind of either saving time in development or getting more, I don't know, shots on goal, what you will, for like what actually is going to be compelling. And you see that kind of nowadays we have, content creators and marketplaces and other utilities on top that will allow for different types of exposure, either like news sites or wallets or whatever that might be. But I think we're just going to see that get even more and more in depth, and that's why I don't know. I was thrilled to hear. I actually didn't even know that you're opening up some parts of your IP, but I think that's exactly what can facilitate this type of collaboration across an ecosystem, where you can use the IP, you're sharing the actual data. You even have your users even have right access to like change ownership and organize their own events around this IP that might be building off of. So I think that is kind of what competes with Web 2. I mean, think about the converse. Like all of our maps data of the entire Western world is some PM at Google has to make use of it, and we're kind of beholden to that person because that's where all of the Google Maps data lives. Whereas in the blockchain world, all of us have the opportunity to build something great on top of user like whatever we're doing in game and out of game and on top of the IP. But yeah, so Solana specifically, like we're really excited about those ecosystem effects. So is there something that Star Atlas, can they collaborate with Render? Probably. So Render token just is a render network, and obviously Solana has, Star Atlas has a bunch of great assets. So there's probably a lot of collaboration opportunities there over time. What about like Helium? Like as you start doing opening up the IP and you can do digital physical world, maybe there's like some sort of decentralized internet collaboration. So I think this is the type of thing that we're trying to think, into the future and where a lot of these things can go, and the ecosystem effects that Solana can foster.
I love that term, the ecosystem effect. It's kind of an extension maybe of the network effect that was a term that was introduced to me when I just started getting involved in crypto all the way back in 2013. But it really speaks to the open source community and how people are able to leverage the innovation of others. And I really think there's two components of this. What you just said was what we're doing with the opening of the IP policy. That's an extension of the ecosystem. We now have people that are able to create product lines that we as a company, we don't have to develop these now, nor do we have the capacity to develop these. And what we see here is a major opportunity to recruit a global demographic of builders creating and exposing the idea of Star Atlas to everyone else around the world. And of course, we are more than happy to kind of share in call it the profitability or share in the upside of that opportunity with people, because they're willing to contribute their time, their resources, they're putting their own capital into these things. And overall, it creates greater awareness of Star Atlas, and that holistically benefits every single participant within the ecosystem. The second piece of this, and kind of goes into the open source side, but it also goes directly into the on-chain logic side of blockchain gaming. A lot of people would say, why do you want to use blockchain to actually build a game, and why would you want to execute game logic on chain? Well, for us, it's this whole idea of composability that we hear Anatoly talk about a lot, right? And so because we're developing the logic on chain, third parties are able to create their own extensions, expansions, their own experiences, and leverage a lot of the innovation that we're bringing in the form of development of programs, but also the development of infrastructure. And in the path to, or on the path to, what is truly an open metaverse concept, not that Star Atlas is the metaverse, but it's an entry point to that. I think the only way that we ever get to true interoperability and composability is by executing in this fashion, and it's quite challenging to do so. But I did want to ask you, and I don't know if you're comfortable with talking about it today, but Johnny Lee had mentioned that you are working on a paper actually currently that speaks specifically to the benefits of on-chain gaming. And anything you want to share with us about that today?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are getting, a little bit spooked. When there's any sort of thing that's deemed as a risk or regulatory, people will try to, just be a little bit more conservative. So a lot of people are saying, okay, we want to try out blockchain, but we're just going to obfuscate as much of the blockchain as possible. And I can agree that we don't want the blockchain to be like in people's face. But the thing is, there's so much benefits to the underlying technology that I agree with the parts that we should make it user-friendly, and especially things like consumer protection. But I think Solana right now is the fastest value transfer network in the world. Web 2, Web 3, notwithstanding. I think if I want to transfer to somebody in Korea or South Africa, I don't think there's a faster way to do so. And so exposing that to the users and all the interesting things that can happen when you have that information transfer that goes through consensus and that everybody in the world can see and agree on that this is the state of what's going on, and I think it's just a really magical concept, and that's part of the reason why we're so excited about Star Atlas, is that really exemplifies that. Like as these technologies get rolled out, you'll have more and more people being able to see the exact state of the gameplay and see what comes out of that, because we've not really seen that very much in Web 2. There's a lot of these other, being on the back end of a lot of these, high performance systems. There's all these quirks that you have to work out, and the across these region play and all these other things. But if you have the community building with you, you can solve a lot of those a lot easier. And so I'm really excited. I've already put a couple of references to Star Atlas's roadmap in the article, for sure.
We love it. And I think program extensions, that's one avenue. We're already seeing that type of innovation go on in our ecosystem. But I think a lot of what will drive future value of a product like Star Atlas is really the content creation and the idea that mod development can be expedited, right? Because the tooling is essentially all available. And while we're building puzzle pieces that people can pick and choose from, now we're building a puzzle completely in the dark here. So it's quite challenging from our perspective as being a first mover on this and operating on the bleeding edge. But our hope is that as we roll these things out, it becomes easily identifiable which are most attractive to use in a separate application. And we could quite easily see people pulling, say, our movement mechanic and integrating that into a gaming product that they have that also leverages Star Atlas NFTs as part of their feature set. But you have deep experience with mods as well. I'm sure you're supportive of the idea of this iterations or alterations of a core gaming product.
Oh, definitely. I mean, League of Legends was born out of a mod of Warcraft into Dota 2. So I think this part of, but even that was kind of challenging because, League didn't give that much back to the original creators. So having these kinds of mods where the people creating the mods and the original creators are both incentive aligned creates these very, hopefully, much more collaborative ecosystems where they're not. It's always a little bit weird in the classical gaming world how mods interact with the original creators, and so I'm just really excited that a game, Star Atlas is really doubling down on that and figuring out like live with all of us kind of how to make that a really positive experience for everybody.
Awesome. Okay, so just a couple of quick final questions here for you, Matt. One of them, I don't know, again, how much you can speak to immediately. I understand that Solana is putting more effort into marketing, specifically for Solana, going into the future, but also a few of the different industry sectors and product lines that are going into that. Any thought on the rationale that you can share with us on starting to enhance the marketing efforts directly through the foundation?
Yeah, so we've always basically just been an engineering shop with good vibes, so no actual marketing was taking place, which got us pretty far actually, because if you just have really good technology, people will self-select. Obviously Star Atlas saw from the very beginning, even before some of the founders, how great of a games platform Solana could be. So that does get you pretty far with a lot of really innovative people in the world. But sometimes things will just get away from you. Like some people can take your narrative for you, and so that's basically our concentration is getting back to really helping people understand what technology is actually differentiated. There's a lot of noise in blockchain, so really exposing the actual differentiation and the awesome things that are only possible on Solana kind of ideas. And kind of owning that, but then also there's from that there's products that are just new to the world that are being built on top. Star Atlas being a great example of that. And so kind of using those as motivating examples for these marketing initiatives is kind of what we're thinking about going forward. And it's kind of you'll see a little trickles in here and there, and then obviously over time it'll just get much more mature. And we're really excited about it because it's a new thing for us, and we have a lot of really great things to show off.
I'm sure that excites some people out there in the audience. I know we're very excited about it. I'm extremely pleased with the fortification of our relationship and the communication channels that we've been able to establish with you all, especially since the Solana gaming division has come online. I think we first connected actually on this about a year ago. I want to say it was down in the Bahamas, and it's been a phenomenal relationship for us. I still believe to this day that choosing Solana very early in our history back in 2020 was one of the best strategic decisions we've made. There are two events that we have in mind. You might have more that I'm not aware of, but Solana has a couple of big events this year, specifically the outside of the hackathons, but the Play GG event, and then of course Breakpoint, which is really your flagship conference. But Play GG is coming up in the not too distant future. Anything you want to share with everybody today on that?
Yeah, it's a games focused conference. Like our name isn't Solana's name isn't in it for a very specific reason, that we want to highlight just great gameplay, great games. And last fall we had our first Solana Games Day, kind of our first instantiation of it, and obviously Star Atlas kind of stole the show there. One of the streams had over 1 million views just on Star Atlas content. And yeah, so we're kind of hoping we have similar kind of setup where we'll have some streams going on. We'll have a show floor. It's kind of near San Diego Comic-Con, so hopefully a lot of great people who are really interested in really in-depth IP will show up, and just normal people, not necessarily blockchain enthusiasts, just people who really want to have a great experience and play fun games. Breakpoint will have obviously a lot of games content too. That'll probably be back more towards blockchain specific roots, more showing off technology and stuff. So we'll have like kind of differentiated experiences across those.
Very cool. Very cool. We're also excited about that, and it also is conveniently placed around the launch of Act 2 of our graphic novel, Star Atlas Core. So
nice.
we'll talk a little bit more about that. Matt, anything else you want to share with everybody today, or any closing thoughts? We do really appreciate your time joining us here, and again, sincerely appreciate the support that you all have shown us. over the years.
Yeah, I'm just here as a fan, just like anybody else in the audience. Just happen to know a little bit more about the roadmap of the platform you happen to be building on. And yeah, it's really exciting to be building alongside Star Atlas. Like we're facilitating a lot of things across, multiple clients. Fire Dancer's coming on incredibly well. We saw a demo the other day of the most recent update. Just really excited to see prepare the chain for all of the demand that Star Atlas is going to generate, basically. So excited to listen in throughout the day.
I'll get a little nerdy here, but I think between Fire Dancer and Fuzzy Lemur, possibility to get time to finality on transaction settlement at 25 milliseconds really means real-time gaming experiences fully on chain, which is pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we're trying to get. Yeah, definitely.
Yep, love it. All right, Matt. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thank you for joining, Matt. Really enjoyed all the replies. Hopefully we can get you soon again on a town hall.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you so much. All right. That was a great interview and chat. Love to have Matt from Solana here on stage. Now I think we can continue moving, Michael. Do you need I have to say it, do you need a sip of water or something, or can we move?
I've been drinking my blood orange juice as we go here. More hydration.
That's awesome. So now let's get a little bit more into details about escape velocity. And for that, I will get Mo on stage. Mo, if you can request or just hop on stage. There we go.
Hey,
Mo, sir. Yes, we can hear you perfectly. How are you doing today, man? Welcome back to the
I am
stage.
doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining, man. I know you are super busy now that we have the launch announced for next week. So thank you for taking some time to chat here with us and with the community, man.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome. So now let's get straight into business, of course. So Mo, I'll shoot you a few questions, all in one. So on escape velocity, can you speak a little bit to it? Maybe go over some of the features a little bit more in detail. What is the goal of it, and how can a player participate next week?
Yeah, sure. So the escape velocity is basically us testing fully on-chain real-time movement across a 100 by 100 Cartesian grid, whereby each sector is an on-chain coordinate. And so every time a player moves from one sector to another, that's an on-chain transaction, which is obviously shown on the front end as ships moving in real time. And just to give a super high level flow of what's happening, every time a player initiates a transaction on the front end, Solana is changing state, and then Starcom, which is our MMO server, which handles density, networking, and communication, ingests that data, and the front end renders that data and animates in real time. So internally, we're testing, fully on-chain movement at scale and the general end-to-end communication pipeline. But we've also added in a bespoke scanning and loot distribution mechanic to gamify it and actually make external testing a lot more fun. So just to touch on the experience, essentially players get into the game by locking up 1,000 atlas, which you do get back. You spawn a ship, and in this gamified movement test, all ships have the same stats, and you essentially move across the map and scan to find loot. I'm going to skip talking about the loot table since I think Chris is going to give an overview of that. So, I'd also like to highlight that there's no limits to how many ships a player can spawn. We added in the 1,000 atlas lock, mostly just to tame botting. And then the player can recover these funds by clicking on the despawn button. We've obviously added in audio and observe mode so you can see the ship up close while it's in space, just to make this test a bit more polished. And then, within those grids, we've added in different colors to show how dense that given sector is. I'd just like to highlight that this isn't actually the release of Sage, but more so a test. And another thing to highlight is, most Web3 games are turn-based, and many of them. And this is real-time, fully on-chain movement at scale, and this really puts Star Atlas at the cutting edge of Web3 gaming.
Huge.
Huge,
Thank you,
yeah.
Mo, for all the details, man. So you guys, for the audience, you will only need some Sol, a wallet, and 1K Atlas that you will be able to get back once you despawn the ship. Correct, Mo?
Yep.
Awesome. And just a follow-up to that is, I know we mentioned this in Foundation Room, but is it going to be on mainnet or devnet?
Yeah, so escape velocity is going to be on mainnet, and just to give a quick explainer of the difference, the Solana mainnet is the production-ready version of the actual Solana blockchain and the network that hosts the actual real-world, Solana projects and where actual Sol transactions take place, whereas DevNet is like a test network or a sandbox environment for projects to experiment and test new features before deploying them onto the mainnet.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for the explanation, man. So a question that everybody has, of course, now that you talked about escape velocity, is what is next for Sage after escape velocity?
Yeah, sure. So, as Michael said, we did pivot our release strategy to focus on iterative releases. So, recently in the last few weeks, we've had half of the front end team working on the escape velocity. But, the other half have been working on the release after that, which is centered around resource extraction and crafting. We're calling it resource extraction and instead of mining, since, raw resources are being extracted from a celestial body, asteroid belts. And, in the future, players will be able to set up mining operations to automatically extract those resources on the surface of a planet. And crafting, revolves around locking crew and ingredients like resources and products for a specific period of time, so then players can claim an end product and burn the ingredients in the process. And this is actually one of the core loops that will incrementally lead to us crafting major assets like ships and structures in the future. This is a while away, but it is the foundation kind of core loop for that. And yeah, if you have any questions around specific game mechanics, ask Giuliano in the Foundation room. But from a blockchain engineering point of view, we've had all of the Sage programs audited and everything on the econ side with the the economic levers are looking great. Great things to come. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great answers, man. Thank you so much for coming to the stage as always. Everybody's super excited about escape velocity and can't wait to test it out starting next week, man. Thank you for joining, man.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mo.
So now we also have Chris here on stage. Chris is from the Star Atlas Econ team. So let's move to the economic side of things for escape velocity. Chris, my friend, how are you doing? It's a pleasure to have you back on stage.
Doing well. Do I have sound? Yeah, it looks like it.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, doing awesome. I think I'm just as excited as our fans are to be here today. It's not just from the econ side of things, but from the entire holistic view. It's really incredible what we're about to do at Star Atlas with escape velocity.
Awesome, man. So let's dive in.
Awesome.
So I have a few questions here for you, Chris. Let's start with one question that I'm sure everyone has here. Since you are from the Star Atlas Econ team, I'm wondering why does this scavenger hunt testing matter for the econ? You guys seem pretty excited about it, but from what we can tell, there is no economic integration to it.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think it gets at the core of what this whole entire project is, right? This version of Sage is a test, very much so a test. So in that regard, Scavenger Hunt's monumental for the econ team. We're thinking of it as a test of a test. We get to test the test. So sure, there's no core Sage econ loops yet. Obviously there's this loot pool, which is going to be really awesome to see how players behave and what they end up doing, regarding that pool. But really what we're doing is establishing our tools and techniques that we're going to be using in order to handle the game data well into the future. So this is going to include, of course, the analysis of the game state and player data, but also just playing with the environment, with the data, with the levers. So we're essentially going to have these game state data that we can adjust, especially with regards to the loot table. That's going to allow us to change the nature of the game, and it's going to give us a really good idea of what it looks like to be the econ team, getting data from the environment and feeding that full cycle of getting data, making decisions, posting decisions back into the environment, into the game state. We're going to be able to test all of that, which is fantastic.
Yeah, man, you're going to be getting a lot of data from it for sure.
Yes, we are.
I'm sure Chloe from BI team is super excited about it as well. So shout out to Chloe.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So now let's get to a spicy question, as Tom would say. What is the loot for this module, Chris? And Dominic is going to be streaming now, so hopefully it's working fine. I would like to check since this is the first time that we are testing live streaming here. If you guys can tell us in the chat if it's working well for you, if you can see the live stream that Dominic is streaming right now, you will be able to see the loot table rewards. But please confirm that everything's working fine.
Yep, I can see it. So to answer your question, Santi, as you guys can see, they've got this sweet infographic here to show you the different tiers of loot. So in order to kind of like adjust, the probabilities so that a tank ship doesn't drop just as likely as a piece of food, because we want that tank ship to last, right? We don't want a tank ship to run out in the first minute. Whereas food is a lot more plentiful, so we have a lot more of that to give out in loot. So what we've done is we've come up with these tiers: copper, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond. Each one of those has different assets within that category and a categorical probability of that category dropping. So what that means is that when we're dropping loot, we're selecting one of these categories based on that probability. On the left, you can see there that categorical probability. And so once we selected that tier, then we randomly select one of the items in that list to drop onto the game map. So you can see there are a lot of really sweet items in here. Anything from, obviously, the big ticket item, the Fimble Bios tank ship, all the way down to simple food, fuel, ammo, your typical R4. There are also some pretty spicy items. The core episodes, you'll see core episode 4, 5, and 6. We're kind of excited about those ones. And then, one final note I will make about this, I don't want to go and list every single one of the items. You guys can all see what's here. But one final note is that we're not going to be introducing any exclusive items from the past. In fact, we're going to actually have escape velocity CSS head paints and a poster, an escape velocity poster that we've added to this pool to kind of give you guys something really cool and monumental or memorable to get from this event. So yeah, we've got some sweet loot.
Definitely nice. I love that we have like these rewards that you will only be able to get during the escape velocity campaign for the CSS head paint and the poster.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so Chris also questioned that I'm sure the whole committee has is, can you give us some tips? How can we improve the chances of getting some loot?
Yeah, so we've gone through this really sweet loot pool, and everybody might be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and get the tank ship. Well, this is a universal loot pool. So this is distributed across the entire galaxy, and there are going to be probably thousands of fleets out there looking for loot. Okay, so one of the things we want to do as a team, as the econ team, is be extremely transparent about this loot table. What it is and how it's going to spawn is important in understanding and keeping realistic expectations for our player base. So loot spawns in a fixed quantity at any time on the map. That's a universal fixed quantity. So for example, if it's going to take a long time for 10 fleets to gather all the loot on the map in 1 minute, for example. But if you have 10,000 players, they're going to be able to gather that loot much more quickly, right? You can think about spreading pieces of cheese out into on a the floor and you let a bunch of mice in there, they're going to get through that cheese much quicker if there's 10,000 mice than if there are only 2. Okay, so that's one thing I want everybody to understand, is that there's a fixed quantity of loot on the table, regardless of the number of players that are present. Also, loot spawns every minute. So, for example, if a piece of loot is picked up, another piece will drop in another location on the map following that event. So loop has a fixed quantity that could be on the map, a fixed amount that can spawn within a single minute, and it randomly spawns. So loot can spawn anywhere on the map, and you have to scan in order to find it. A bit of strategic advice: the chances of you getting a loot drop when scanning in an area with 300 other players is about 1 in 300. Those odds look a lot better when you're on a location with 10 players, for example. I also want to emphasize that coordination within guilds and DACs could be a really powerful tool. The more players there are in your organization, the more loot you have the opportunity to gather. But you'd prefer that the loot is picked up by your own teammates rather than an opposing faction. So try to coordinate and make sure that your fellow players are doing their part. And I can't emphasize this enough: make sure you're reaching out to Star Atlas vets that may have either gone idle or left the ecosystem, and especially reach out to those people who haven't heard of Star Atlas that are in perhaps the Solana ecosystem or the greater Web3 gaming ecosystem.
Great, man. I'm sure everyone was taking notes right now. I see Dominic also in the audience taking some notes to know how to get to loot. Michael, do you have any thoughts here, questions for Chris?
Well, I just want to say that I personally prefer to eat my cheese off the floor because I'm a cultured individual.
Dude, I tried to come up with that on the spot. I was like, what's a good example? And cheese and mice was the thing that came to mind.
It's good. It's good. It's good. I think since we have you on, Chris, there's a couple of points that I don't think we covered yet. So one, the 100 by 100 grid space, right? So 10,000 grid spaces across this map. We use that pretty heavily. Well, you guys use that pretty heavily in the modeling. Not sure if there's any elaboration there that you'd like to provide, but our numbers with respect to loot distribution did focus on that quite heavily.
Yeah, exactly. So there's kind of an interesting characteristic to this model where because there are a fixed quantity of spawns and there's a fixed quantity of spaces, you can almost think about the probability that a piece of loot is on a single space. And if you think about one person flying around the galaxy, they're going to encounter loot pretty much at the same rate until, no matter how many players there are, until a certain quantity of players start to become in the ecosystem. And once that happens, there's kind of a crowding out effect, and there's this strategic component that comes to play. Now, this is all based on simulations and modeling, so we'll see what happens in the real environment. But that's a really good point. So there's some fixed quantity of loot on the map at any time, and those are going to spawn in different locations, and there are 10,000 spaces. So you can kind of start to strategize and think about, what does that loot distribution look like within the map at any given time? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And we weren't going to talk about it, and I don't think we'll go into it. But there was also some really cool modeling work that looked into a metric that we use, which is the VWAP, the volume weighted average price distribution of assets over time, and that kind of feeds directly into what loot went onto the table. But the reason I bring it up right now is not necessarily to talk about those numbers, but just to kind of elaborate on your previous point that actually the maximum way for loot to be distributed is to have more players on the game board. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there's a big difference between, if you want to think about, take Steven Sabol's our most recent quarterly report. If we think about GDP per capita or loot per person, that number is a lot different than the total aggregate loot that's being dropped for the number of players. So as the number of players grows, obviously a larger portion of the available loot on the table is going to be grabbed per minute on a per minute basis. But at the same time, you could think of the shape of your loot that you've grabbed as an individual growing with the number of players and then dropping with the number of players, because there's this crowding out effect. So That gets at a really important point. You see these probabilities on the loot table. Those don't mean that there's an 87% probability that you as an individual player will get a copper loot. It just means that when a prize spawns, conditional on those conditions that I mentioned earlier, there's an 87% that prize is going to be copper, and so on through the list. So don't interpret these probabilities as some sort of guarantee or some sort of likelihood that you're going to achieve that. This is a universal drop list, and it's going to be extremely competitive.
That sounds good. As an old rock climbing buddy of mine used to say, "You did good, kid. You did real good."
Well, I don't know what a good rock climber I am, but I'll take that as a compliment.
But that really is to say, I'm very proud of the work that the whole team has been doing here. You guys out there in the audience, we try to provide updates as regular as possible, but I don't think we can fully relay just how passionate, enthusiastic, and dedicated the people at Automata are at building this product out. Really proud of what's been accomplished on the econ team. I did want to give a special mention to Gareth Butler. He was he's an analyst on our team, and he actually put a bunch of work into the royalty rates on the IP policy that Dan spoke to earlier. But Stephen Sabal, we just rolled out the quarterly on March 31st. He's the lead writer and economist on that. Anurag on our team does. He's an analyst as well. He puts in a lot of research into competitive analysis and also alternative project analysis that allows us to refine the mechanics and dynamics of some of our gaming products, including those that went into escape velocity here. And then, of course, Eric Vermillion, you all have heard from him before. He's on stage quite frequently, but just leading this department and being a real collaborative team player and helping to fortify the relationships across teams and make sure that all of these different gears that we have operating in this machine that is Star Atlas and that Automata are all working well together. But Chris, really appreciate you joining us today.
I've got to get to a econ party now.
Pop the champagne.
See you guys.
See you,
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris.
Thank you so much. And thank you also, Mo, for joining us, man. Thank you so much, Mo. Now let's move to the next segment. We covered everything related to scavenger hunt. So now let's move to our 2.1 updates.
Well, we can't miss the social campaign.
Oh, yes, true. You want to mention that, Michael?
I do. You know, a lot of thought went into. I'm going to position this kind of as two ways, but a lot of thought went into this branding behind this feature release in the Sage product line. This idea of escape velocity, and as I said, this is really a continuation of start sequence, but really following that theme throughout the rest of the year. And you all have heard us talk about the community leads and managers talk about the idea that once we start rolling these things out, we're going to it's intended to build a lot of momentum. And I really do think that escape velocity is symbolic in multiple ways, not only symbolic in the sense that it is a product launch and we are emerging outside, we're bursting through the atmosphere, we're entering into space. And in the case of Star Atlas, reaching space is not your final destination, but really just the beginning. And in so many ways, what we're doing with this Sage product launch is just the beginning of what's to come. But I also lost my train of thought there, Santi. That's just it's super powerful to me, this idea of escape velocity. You know, getting past the start sequence, getting out there, and I think what it means for us though is, you know, we've obviously been dealing with a lot over the last 6 months at Automata. You in the community, you've had to endure a lot as well, and we think that this is a momentum shift for us and for the industry, and so not only on the product side, but who we are and where we are as an organization and as a collective, I think is again very powerful.
I love that escape velocity is actually just the beginning, right?
That's right. So
and you were going to mention something about the social campaign.
Right. So that's kind of the next thing, and we already have another launch planned for you all, and that'll be coming out the week following the rollout of Escape Velocity itself. Now we're not going to go into any specific detail today because we want to reveal all of that through dedicated communications. But this social campaign couples and integrates with all of the product launches and events and social events like these, digital experiences, alongside the encouragement of recruiting people to the Star Atlas ecosystem. So there's a number of elements that go into participation within this, but we've also structured this as a very cool way to demonstrate to people all over the world that you were there at the beginning. You were an early adopter of Star Atlas, and there's also going to be a separate loot table and loot pool associated with this, with its own requirements. And think of it just as this big mission system that's going to encompass the rest of the year. And we hope that you'll join us and participate in that and be there from the beginning to experience this.
Yeah, it will definitely be worth it to be here since the beginning, and we just wanted to reward everyone for engaging with the products. So that's why we have this social campaign. You will learn a lot more about it probably starting next week.
That's right. And I am seeing some questions just in the chat here. So I actually just wanted to address one additional thing on Escape Velocity really quickly before we move on. And because I don't think we covered it, we did put a ton of thought into game theory, not from game design perspective, but how could people manipulate the system that we're releasing. So the one thing about this ship spawning is that while you have the infinite ability to spawn ships, when putting into that escrow, that on-chain escrow account, 1,000 Atlas per ship, there is a restriction on the scan timer. So you can only scan once every 60 seconds. Regardless of the quantity of ships that you have. Now, it still makes sense for you to spread your ship and fleet out across this digital game board, but just understand that you will still only be able to scan once per minute.
Cool. That's a great clarification. Thank you, Michael. So now I think we're ready to actually move to the next segment. I think we are just at half the agenda for today. So I want to make sure that everyone has some drinks or popcorn for this next segment, because we're going to be covering some UE5 updates, starting with R2.1. Can you talk about some of these general updates, maybe starting with some events that we will be attending?
I'll go really quickly in respect of everyone's time. I'll go quickly through the events. You heard Matt up. Again, I'm very happy with how strong the relationship has been with the Solana team. We had a phenomenal breakpoint last year, and we're really looking to focus a lot of our public presence and presentations around the main Solana events. So you can expect us to be participants at Play GG, which is in San Diego. That's in July. And again, expect quite a big showing from us at Breakpoint. There are some details I would absolutely love to share, but not going to reveal those just yet. What we want to do with these town halls is really keep everything pretty dedicated to the items that are on the forefront and those releases that are most relevant and up and coming for everyone. So we'll share some more details about all those, Santi, as we approach those. But those are kind of the two big events. We hope to see some of you there, and we had a really great time at Breakpoint last year with the community meetup and just getting to meet face to face with people in the real world.
Sure. Yeah, that's a game changer when you put a face to a Discord username. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So yeah, looking forward to those. But now, Michael, I think we can get into R2.1 and what's the current scope for it.
Yeah, well, so this is going to be a really fun segment. This is where we get to share a lot of the video content that the team has been working on, and I guess I would note here that we do have regular internal presentations from people across all departments within the company. But as of this year, actually, we just started off a new process, which is a quarterly all hands meeting. And really, these are the meetings where we just absolutely everybody gets excited if they're not already. But we have some really cool videos that are coming up, and Dom's going to have his hands busy here on this one. But what we'll do is we'll kind of run through the features that are coming in 2.1. This would be the next iterative feature release on the showroom experience as you all know it today. And one of the big things that we're bringing out for 2.1 is a full marketplace integration into the Unreal Engine client. So we'll roll that video for you now.
There we go. Everyone here checking out. Awesome.
Super cool.
So-
Love seeing the ledger integration there too at the end.
Yes, sir. Yeah. There are a couple of things to point out there. Like, that's inside the game. That's
Inside,
UE5.
that is inside the Unreal client on Epic Games Store. That's right.
Yeah, that's inside the Unreal client. Also, as you can see, it's fully working with Ledger. As you can see in the video that Ricardo provided for us, one of our engineers. Huge shout out to Ricardo. He has been crushing it.
Absolutely. And I don't want to take this down the path of revenue, but that's been a frequent topic of conversation across the community. But we do see this as one avenue for us to help lift up the sales through time when people are able to engage in the gameplay experience, not have to go to an external app like our beautiful marketplace as it exists today, but be able to make those purchases directly in game as they're experiencing it and as they're interacting with those objects. I will probably speak out of turn here as I sometimes do, Santi, but part of what we're focused on getting into future iterations of the Unreal client as well is providing people with opportunity in single player mode to experience some of the ships. And again, there's some detail there that I'll leave out intentionally, but the idea is that this is a showroom. And if you want to test fly one of these models before you buy, we're going to make that available to you. And then, of course, the option to purchase those items would exist directly in the client as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great update. And well, we can already see how clean the UE5 marketplace is looking like.
It's looking great. Looking great.
Yeah.
So
want to move to the next one, Michael?
Moving along. So I think there's been also some discussion back and forth about the upcoming ground racing mode. Now, this is a pretty big feature. We've shared some videos of this in the past. What we're looking at for 2.1 is a single player version of this, very similar to the way the time trials work in the showroom today. we've got some video playing here, but this will also be accompanied with a leaderboard. Now, this first one is the flyable Opal Jet, looking super good.
Looking clean. Looking
Yeah.
very clean. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and just to clarify, like, this is work in progress, early work in progress, what you're looking at, guys. Just wanted to make that disclaimer here.
Yeah, thanks, Santi. Very important to stress that we're sharing content with you all extremely early, but by no means is this even the final version. You couldn't tell by looking at it. I mean, it looks fully polished to me, right? But the we're going to see some considerable improvements still through time as well.
For sure.
So
Sure.
we also have we added a new camera mode here, and there's a racing rear view camera. Let's roll that clip as well, Dom.
Yeah, that one is dedicated to Miguel. I know Miguel from our team loved the rear view camera, so shout out to Miguel.
Yeah, and this racing gameplay mode is a not in the upcoming release, but ultimately what we're building towards is combat racing. So I think the best way to describe it is really Mario Kart on steroids in Unreal Engine 5 with some of the most bleeding edge looking assets you can imagine.
I love that description. Mario Kart on steroids. Steroids. Oh man. Awesome.
I don't think we added any of the videos of people getting blown up, but those are super cool. We'll probably drop those at some point as well. And then maybe just to round out this segment on the single player racing, we also have a video here of the progress on the racetrack environment. By the way, I hope everyone's enjoying this new format in the town hall. We're thinking about how this evolves through time as well. We got access to the ability to stream video content directly during the presentation. I think this is real nice, Santi.
Yeah, I was actually asking that question in the chat to see if everyone is enjoying this new type of Townhall. But look at that, Michael. Look at how clean that is.
It's unbelievable, man. The hype on the team when we have these quarterly production meetings and quarterly all hand calls, it's just wild. We really wanted to share this content with you all. We'd love to have everybody just sit in on those meetings, but it's not really feasible for us to do that. Obviously, we do discuss some confidential information there as well. But here you go. It's a 8-person racetrack. Again, might be speaking out of turn, but where we're really going with this combat racing module as well is to introduce the character and ship progression as well. So earning experience, being able to upgrade modules and components, seeing the character progression through armor and equipment enhancements, so being visually identifiable based on the progress that you've made and character level, all just looking incredibly good.
Yeah. Looking super clean.
Yeah.
The job that the UE5 team has been doing is just incredible. Incredible.
It really is unbelievable, the progress that we're making in a very short period of time. But I'll probably talk about it just a little bit more towards the end here. But I've mentioned this in the past. A lot of the work that we were doing. I should note that Unreal Engine 5 was not even available to be developed for a public release until June of 2021, and obviously we spent a lot of that year building our team and recruiting great talent that's able to produce assets like this. But to think about what we've been able to accomplish, what I was getting at is doing this foundational work and building out these content production pipelines and establishing the foundation that allows us to speed up and expedite development going into the future without overpromising anything. What we expect internally is the ability to produce on a faster pace with faster iterations and more content coming out in the future.
Yeah.
So A few other little updates here. These are coming directly from Danny, but the dogfight mode inside the client has been updated, and that's going to support more ships. So more than just the X4, you'll be able to pick and choose from the ships that you own and engage in that PvE combat mode. We are also looking at this photographer career mode inside inside the Unreal client. So we get all of these great images and screenshots captured by people that are exploring the environment today, and we thought it's a pretty light lift for us to add a new career mode into the game where people can take these screenshots, and we actually want to tie this into the entire play to earn concept. And so we're still kind of working through the underlying mechanics there, but the idea is that there would be a competition of sorts with voting, so upvoting and maybe downvoting, but to the extent that you as a photographer capturing the screenshots of the atmosphere and the environment would be able to potentially earn Atlas for participating in that gameplay loop. We already see a ton of amazing images produced from the community, and so we want to further cultivate that and support that as a career path in game.
Yeah, we love to see the pictures. It's not your ordinary JPEG NFT, right?
That's right. Yeah. And so like extending beyond that, there is an expanded showroom experimental map as well. And this is kind of pre-season for testing. Now, this might be gray box in some places, so it's not going to be all polished textures. It's just going to be an option within the menu that you can select from and go navigate and explore. But we want to just get that content out to you as soon as possible and let you start playing around with that. And then this next one is super, super cool. The train arrival station has been completely re-architected with an interactive train that will actually bring you into the showroom at some point in the future. And so we're going to roll that video here. But again, quality here is just beyond.
Yeah, looking good. It's a very nice update, but we don't want to spoil everything, like you guys will have to discover all the rest updates here on the train station by yourselves.
Yeah. So again, I'll roll kind of quickly here through some of the final items, but there are a number of quality of life enhancements that have been introduced, make it just a little more enjoyable to interact with the environment. There's been some performance improvements in engine as well, and these optimizations are really designed to make the game more accessible, lower the PC requirements, and open up to a wider audience that can experience this with a performant, just kind of a performant experience for them. The main menu, by the way, is also getting updated, and the individual, you, would be able to select your ship from that menu. That ship that you select will be your background, kind of animated background, but it'll also be then your default ship when you load into the game. There's been a bunch of bug fixes that have been discovered and reported. Thanks everyone for reporting bugs when you do. Those are important for us, and those all do go into a pipeline, and we work through those. There's a bunch more surprises. I've already said a lot. Let me just stop there, Santi, and hopefully everyone was happy with some of those videos we shared.
No, that's awesome. And we on that one, that last one, Michael, on the surprises, guys, we didn't mention all the things that are coming in our 2.1. There are things that we're saving that they are going to blow your minds. We don't want to share everything, right? But there are a couple of things that we didn't mention that you're probably not expecting at all. So that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, now on stage we have Brad. Brad, it's a pleasure to have you here on stage again. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, man. Thank you for joining again. Just for the audience, Brad is our gameplay engineer at Star Atlas. And we are going to be diving a little bit more into R 2.1 and what goes into actually building R 2.1. So we have a couple videos as well here, Brad, for you to also comment on them and just to see what is the process of building something like the ground racing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Try not to get myself in trouble. Hashtag accidental alpha.
You won't. Don't worry. So can you talk about what we're seeing there, Brad?
Yeah, so this is an example of one of the many, many improvements we've done to our flight model. So one of our engineers, Frank, he's like a one-man army on our flight model, getting the ground racing feeling good, hovering over the ground, so it's smooth and responsive and it feels nice. And so this in this example, this is the before video where the gravity was kind of wonky. I think part of it is just because we are going so fast. These bikes are going like unboosted. They're like 150 miles an hour currently, and they're on springs. We're using a 4-point suspension system. They're like invisible springs on each corner of the bike. And so you hit something going 150 miles an hour on some springs, and this is what you get. So Frank gave us the ability to set the gravity per ship. And we do these kinds of things in game design where it's a balance between what may be like physically correct and what looks good and what's fun. And so having different gravity for different ships might sound like weird, but it helps us, like if a ship's bigger, you want it to feel a little more weightier, a little heavier. Going back to that Mario Kart example, right? If you're Bowser, you want to be able to like knock Peach off the track, that kind of stuff.
That also gives some life to the ships, like they act different. They are also piloted differently. So, yeah. I think we're new video now. So
yeah, and so this is after we got that gravity thing smoothed out, so get those nice smooth turns. A lot of work's gone into the camera, and it's even changed in this. It's changing like daily because it's really like a matter of taste. There's not like the right or wrong. We want it to be kind of dynamic, but not so much that it's like disorienting. So it's a real fine balancing act.
Nice. Experienced pilots only here, right? On these turns.
Yeah, and we did get collision damage working now. So if you crash, sorry, you get better.
Okay.
Better watch out.
Okay, better watch out. Yeah, I love collision damage. That's nice. It only makes you better. Don't crash,
That's right.
So just to clarify, on the first TR 2.1 release for the ground racing, it's going to be single player against the clock.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. Cool. And moving to another topic, it's still on UE5. You talked about gas with us the other day, and we thought it would be cool if we can share that with the community. What does that mean? Just a brief explanation on it.
Yeah, so GAS is short for Gameplay Ability System, and it was developed by Epic Games for a game called Paragon that they were working on. It was like this third-person action MOBA that they ended up canceling the project, and then they didn't want to waste all this work they'd done, so they released like everything to the Unreal development community. So all the characters and the assets and the environments, people can use them. But they also released this gameplay ability system, and it's this flexible, scalable kind of framework for implementing different stats and abilities, and it's all it's replicated, so it means it's multiplayer ready essentially. And it really is enabling us. It's taken a long time to get it implemented, and from the user's perspective, it doesn't look like a lot has changed. But under the hood, we've undergone a massive revamp of like every system we had. A lot of it was kind of just like prototype, and it worked for what it was, but it wasn't easily scalable and to build on top of. It wasn't like a a good foundation. So now we've got gameplay abilities system implemented, and I feel like we're really starting to hit our stride. I think it's fair to say, like as the gameplay team has kind of been playing catch up compared to like the vehicle team and the character team. They've got like these nice oil pipelines, and they're pumping out all these ships, but there wasn't a whole lot to do with them yet, and the game development team was kind of trying to play catch up. But now I feel like now we've got gas online. We're really starting to pick up steam, and we're able to do some fun stuff with these ships soon.
That's great, man. So on that front, like how can we use like any specific examples on how could it be used in Star Atlas, the gameplay ability system?
Yeah, so you kind of break up gas into two different things. So there's attributes and then there's abilities. And so attributes are all like your stats in your game, all your numbers. So to use an example of a traditional RPG, we'd be talking about HP, mana, your strength, dexterity, all those kinds of things, right? In our case, we have attributes of like hull points, shield points, ammo count, weapon heat, thruster power, like all these, there's dozens and dozens of like numbers we need for everything in our game. And so those are all attributes. And like I said, they're all multiplayer ready. And then the abilities are can affect those attributes. So for example, in an RPG, right, you drink a potion. The ability would be drink potion, and the outcome is affect this stat, which is this attribute, which is your health. So in our case, we've actually converted every single like input in the game is now an ability, which means it's all replicated and ready to go. I see everything from pulling the trigger on your guns to deploying your landing gear, firing a missile, and it all works with this tag system, which makes it really easy to globally like enable or disable abilities. So, for instance, in the future, we might want a no fire zone around a spaceport or whatever. So there'd be like this bubble, and when you enter this bubble, we say any ability that has this tag, we'll say the combat tag. Any ability with the combat tag is now disabled. So now we can't shoot our guns, we can't fire missiles, we can't chaff, target lock, whatever we want. But yeah, using tags and abilities and attributes, it's really a powerful, flexible system, and a really good foundation moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's great. It actually opens up for a lot of different, very specific game modes that we could do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just this week, it was actually just like 2 days ago, someone said, it'd be a fun game mode is if we did this, and then like next day I had like a little prototype thrown together.
I love how you don't mention the game mode so we don't drop the alpha.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble.
I love that. Awesome. So we also have a video that we received from you where we wanted explanation on what is going on. Just to be clear, the video that we're going to share is just something that Brad was testing. It's to make it to the game. But look at that. What is going on there, Brad?
Yeah, it's a new variant of the Opal. It's called the Opal Apocalypse. No, so I was we were prototyping manned turrets, and it needed to be on a ship to see if it worked, and so I just threw it on the jet because it was there. But yeah, we are working on turrets. They're pretty cool. We've got them, so yeah, you can get in them and aim and shoot, and they're attached to ships. And so those will hopefully be coming sometime in the near future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
People are saying in the chat, it's viable. You have to make it real. Imagine that. That will destroy a Pierce X4 for sure.
Can I just comment on again how good the Opal Jet is looking too? I mean, dude.
Yeah.
It's looking super clean. Super clean. Super clean. But yeah, Brad, anything else you would like to add, share, comment?
Just big thanks to the community. I sit in on the Atlas brews every week, and I usually don't say much, but I'm there just listening, and it's really it really helps, get me excited about what I'm working on when I hear how excited you guys are about the project.
Awesome. Yeah,
And I
huge
know
shout out
all
to
the team feels that way.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. We see you there in the audience. We don't put you on the spot so you don't drop any alpha, but we see you, man. I appreciate you joining there. Lots of great feedback in the Bruce.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
thank
Brad.
you for joining the stage, Brad. Thank you so
Yep.
much, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, love the updates. Oh man,
Yeah.
I think it should become a meme and maybe make that Opal jet the Opal apocalypse and make it real, right?
Those are decisions that I leave entirely to Danny.
We're putting some pressure on Daddy to make that a real thing. The apocalypse, just saying. I love it. I love it. But we have also some other videos. This is not it, guys. Again, I hope you still have some popcorn because we have more videos to share. Um,
Yeah, these were too good to leave out. I just want to note here that this is not part of the 2.1 release, so don't expect this in the 2.1 client. But these were demoed for us on the quarterly as well. So let's we have one of a modular platform construction and engineering. Just look.
Look at
Super
that.
good. You're experiencing these in a few different test environments too. The backdrop, it looks kind of like it's on the moon or some distant celestial body. Those are not ours, but this modular platform construction was ours. Same thing with the environment here, not necessarily ours, but what we're really showcasing here is how quickly these assets can be compiled. Now that the team has developed out this system that allows us to bring these things together. So it's very much like Legos, like building blocks, and it's not custom fabricating each one of these buildings or structures from scratch, but using the underlying components to put these together and customize them.
Yeah, it has huge implications for the development process, right, and development speed.
That's right. I mean, we're developing out a very expansive universe here, and so Danny's referred to the fact that we do intend to use procedural generation on a lot of the planets, but if we want to go in and custom tailor any of those for a specific experience or a mission or a gameplay mode, we're able to do that because of once again the foundations that are being laid today.
Yeah. Awesome. And apologies, guys, if the video seems a bit laggy. Again, like this is the first time that we're testing this functionality in the Discord. But don't worry, we'll be posting all these videos also in full quality on the Sneak Peeks channel. But I think it's cool to be able to have it and comment at the same time. Pretty cool.
And I just noticed for the first time that we even had some character animations in one of these clips.
There was a character walking there, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't notice that the first time around. Very cool. Okay, and we have one more just to kind of round out this segment. This is just thinking about ship engineering and functionality. We're going to show the Pierce X6 thrusters in action.
Yeah. Yeah. The X6 is looking so good. But now we are only showing the thrusters.
And this is your in-game experience right here. Groundbreaking.
Yeah, looking clean. Looking clean. Look at that. Look at the details.
So
On
good.
those Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. Can watch this all day, says Ray in the chat.
Yeah.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, looking good. Expect more on the X6 soon. That's what I'm going to say.
Right. Yeah, that video was edited to leave out some other specific detail with intention. But I'm speechless for once, but we wanted to share all of this content with you. We get to see it internally. We're super excited about it. We figured you would be as well.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's move to some other product updates, Michael, before we go to Q&A. I think we can speak a little bit about the DAO, right?
Yeah, in the spirit of time, I will be pretty quick here, but and again, we want to showcase those products that are more near term. So the DAO is still very much on track with our internal timelines right now. I think I mentioned this on the last town hall, but just to reiterate, the next feature release from the DAO side is going to be the proposal and voting system proposal, specifically from the Automata team. So we'll be rolling out the foundational proposals that really establish the framework, establish the constitution, and then lay the groundwork for community generated and submitted proposals. So these are going to be coming exclusively from us. But what you will have the ability to do is connect your wallet for authentication. It will read your Polis voting power or PVP. You'll be able to vote on any proposals that are available across the DAO, and then there's an entire discussion board for all of these. So what we do expect is that some discourse to take place between the community and Automata to refine and revise each of these proposals, get to a point where everybody's satisfied. The vote gets ultimately will get passed. It goes through a number of iterations, ultimately gets passed. And then we have that foundation set. And then the next thing beyond that, again, is when everybody else across the community can start submitting proposals for things they would like to see and change they would like to see take place across the ecosystem, where I think this is going to be very important from the financial perspective is we know the DAO has been collecting revenue since December of 2021, primarily through R4 sales. It's also been collecting its share of the secondary marketplace transaction fees. I think one of the best things we can collectively do as an ecosystem is leverage that treasury as a fund of sorts to provide grants and rewards to people who are developing within the ecosystem. So tying everything kind of together here, the IP, the open access, the on-chain gaming logic, and any other open source programs that we roll out. Plus, we have a capital source that can then fund future innovation across the ecosystem. Our goal here is to build this global collective of people that are all focused on building and enhancing Star Atlas.
Nice, nice. And on that, we also have updates on the DAG platform, right?
Yeah, these two products are similar in function, I would say, at least the kind of the underlying mechanics. DAX are in a way a form of a sub DAO. The DAX in our nomenclature, this is essentially the guild or clan system. They're decentralized autonomous corporations. And we know we have some incredible guilds that have been supporting us for a long time here. We'd like to release the technology that lets you formalize the registration of that guild. So this is this platform that's currently in development that's gotten through all the design phase. Happy to say it's gotten through the design phase and it's now been handed off to engineering. Will allow you to register your DAC, name selection. You can assign tags to your DAC as well, so people can search for you. The DAC leaderboards are coming alongside all of this, but really it's a recruiting tool and recruiting mechanism for all of you out there that lets you organize, set roles, set permissions all through on-chain systems, and manage your DAC directly through the portal site, which is the play.staratlas.com website.
Awesome.
So,
and massive shout out to Xcode and his team for this one.
For sure. I mean, there's so much more that's been going on across the company, and that portal team has recently rolled out. Let's not forget, faction claims just came out. What was it, a week ago now? I'm already, I lose track of time every day, kind of blurs together. But we just had faction claims roll out shortly ago. So big win. That was kind of a ninja launch for everyone getting that one out. But really excited about that and the how we can build upon that in the future as well, and really proud of the whole team here.
Cool. Great. So that was a lot of content that we just shared, Michael. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I feel great. I've said this before, but the morale on the team is very high. We're full steam ahead here, and we still have our sights set on the North Star, which is just building out this vision. So feeling really good. But I think this was a phenomenal town hall. Santi, thank you for co-hosting with me up here. Dom, thanks for guiding us along with all of the video sharing and content sharing. But yeah, why don't we? This has run quite long. Why don't we take a question or two from the audience, and we'll wrap this thing up.
If you have any questions, raise your hands, guys. We'll let one or two people in. I invited Christian Dragnall, real OG here. Christian, how are you doing, friend?
Interstellar
everyone.
Alliance. Hi, Christian.
Hello, guys. Do you hear me properly?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, nice. First of all, I just want to congratulate everyone. You guys did amazing job. This is the best town hall so far, in my humble opinion. So
Thank you.
good job.
Thank you.
You all did a really amazing job, and I also want to congratulate the entire community of the Staratos. They really are doing very well. Just a quick question. Lately, I'm seeing a lot of AI technologies are developing, especially when it comes to gaming. Is there a chance that we see in the future NPCs run by an AI technology?
For sure. This is something that Danny could actually speak more directly to, and we'll get him up on a town hall sometime in the future here. But he's obviously got his hands full and leading a lot of production. But I would just say collectively throughout Automata, there's enormous interest in the AI tooling that is emerging today and so rapidly evolving. Our own BCM is. We see something new from him every day. A lot of people across the team, both in the engineering department and in the product department, are taking advantage of some of these tools, things that help us communicate better, share information better with you all in the community, things that help us speed up the engineering process itself and write code faster, things that help game development progress more quickly, as well as thinking I would say more longer term about how AI integrated tools can lead to a more realistic experience when interacting with NPCs in the game. Again, something that Danny could really speak more directly to. He's more informed than I am on this. But the last point I'll make on the whole AI side is that we just really because of the interest internally and the benefits that we see that can emerge from the early adoption of this technology, we formed an AI committee with people from select departments, and so we're really putting a lot of thought into it. I'm probably the biggest damper on the AI adoption process, simply because I do want to ensure that we maintain the highest levels of security and confidentiality of information across the company as well. So I want to make sure that we tread on this lightly, but make sure that we're not missing opportunities as we do so.
That was amazing answer. Thank you very much. This is pretty much the most important question that I had. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Again, you are out doing amazing. So take care and see you in the game.
Thanks, Christian. It's great to see you
Thank you
again.
so much, Christian. Yeah, great to see you
Cheers.
on stage, my friend. Now let me invite one more. I invited Puck the Parrot. Hey Puck, welcome to the stage. You're muted right now.
Sorry about that. Thank you, guys.
No problem, my friend. Been loving all the content that you have been putting out, watching all the videos.
I've been absolutely loving the support from the Star Atlas community.
Awesome,
Like,
man. Love to hear
you
that.
guys are great. I do have a pretty difficult question. I'm curious as to what happens if the options that Automata provides on the proposals are completely rejected by the community. Will Automata use its polls voting power to override that, or will they consider the community feedback and redraft the proposal?
100% the latter. It's not our intention to force through any proposals that are uh, uh, in opposition to community interest. We very much expect this to be a collaborative process. Now, we've put a ton of work into the drafting of these initial frameworks, and so we think it's something that is certainly workable in every instance. But should it not be, and we need to make some dramatic changes, then we're happy to incorporate that feedback in doing so. And we would expect that people out there, many talented people in the community, would even be able to contribute specific language to that. Now, I think it's worth mentioning here everybody knows the concept of a decentralized autonomous organization is still very emergent in its own right, and it's also quite dynamic and changing pretty rapidly. One of the things that Dan updates us on regularly is just what the regulatory environment looks like around the concept of a DAO. A DAO is an unregistered, non-jurisdictional ethereal entity, if you will. It doesn't really exist anywhere except within our minds. Now, we do have the foundation, which is the legal entity that supports the actions of the DAO, and it can effectuate contracts and financial operations and things of that nature. But a big part of this is ensuring that there's legal compliance on a global scale with anything that the DAO does want to do. And so, of course, we at Automata want to ensure that the long-term interests of that are maintained. And so we're not going to allow for anything that would, specifically or even without certainty compromise its future operations. And so we're hoping that we can provide that feedback to you based on the expertise and knowledge that we have. And then, of course, incorporate feedback where there's misalignment with the community.
I really like that answer. I know one of the main reasons people are in crypto is because people with power have abused that power. So I appreciate that answer. And I also have a question about where we stand on the runway, if we're able to get an update on that.
Unfortunately, it's still kind of the same answer that I provided to everyone last time. There's, this is a specific area of confidentiality that I can't share too much about, but all I can say is we are full speed ahead. Everyone is heads down developing, and we believe that we have a path to success going into the future. So it's not that it's something that we don't think about, but we're quite optimistic on our side.
All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you for the questions.
Thank you so much, Puck. Keep up with the good content. Love to see it. Cool, man. I'm not sure how you are with time, Michael. We're close to 2 hours. You let me know. Should we close here or one more question?
I see Lucius put his hand up. Why don't we just bring him up and we'll close out with that one.
Okay. Invited Lucius to stage.
Hello, guys. How are you today?
Hey, man, we're
Good.
feeling really good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Actually, very honored to be here. It's very exciting to see everything that you have shown us. We are very, very happy with how things have evolved, and we have been sharing this with our community, and we see a lot of positivity with this. And congratulations on this. It's a huge leap, and we're very honored to be part of it. And I have really one quick question when it comes to the integration that you mentioned when it comes to guilds and DAX. Will that be including now that we have a lot more clarity when it comes to what the racing tracks and everything that we will be able to do within those? Will that include integration when it comes to events that we can organize not only among guilds but also when it comes to guilds for our members and things like that, so we can elaborate, bring people over, and keep bridging that gap in between Web 2 and Web 3 gaming? I think that's actually very important. So, and again, thank you guys. You have been doing an awesome job.
Let me do this. I know John Xcode typically joins these. John, if you're out there, do you want to raise your hand? Maybe you take this question.
I invited John to speak. We're putting him on the spot real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. I'm sorry.
Hopefully he can join. I don't know. I'll give it 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, we'll just give it a few more seconds. If he doesn't jump on, I mean, I can respond at a high level, and the intention with the DAC system is to facilitate visibility and demonstration of that, that connectivity, the connective tissue between members and between players. So as you're participating in events in the digital realm, of course, a key part of that is being able to showcase which DAC you are a part of. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that we can facilitate that outside of just having, say, a tag that's hovering above your character or something of that nature, or when you inspect somebody, you can see what they're a part of. But color differentiation, perhaps, or one of the things that we are enabling at the DAC platform is letting people upload. This is a kind of a risky move, but letting people upload their own DAC banner. And so I guess I would note here just we have a bunch of filtering tools that we're exploring to ensure that explicit content or offensive content isn't sneaking through. But this is a bit of an experimentation. We thought it would be better for us to provide you with the optionality to upload your own image representing your DAC versus giving you a default set to select from. But anyway, I think there's a bunch of different ways that you're going to be able to identify who's a member of what DAC. I don't know if that answered your question.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, it's the first thing that came up into my mind, us being a gaming community, but I really appreciate all the work that you have been doing, and just letting you know, we're gunning for Dom once the game's ready. So I hope you have a security team for him, because there have been some back and forth in between him and our pilots. So just Dom, we're ready. We're waiting in our server. Let's do it.
Oh, guys.
I just don't want to embarrass you guys yet,
Let's go,
I'm
man.
waiting.
Let's go. Cal is listening. Everybody's listening. Let's do it.
You guys need to practice. You get the 2 best pilots against me and Dom. We're going to see how it
And
goes.
thank you guys. It really means a lot to us. We have been really looking forward to this. I know everyone here is excited about the game. If we sometimes seem harsh and impatient, is because we care about you and what you will deliver. And again, thank you for thinking about us and delivering this, because it means a lot to us. And thank you for being, letting us be part of it. So thank you.
And we appreciate everyone being a part of it. Like, that's really the paradigm that we're establishing here. So thanks for jumping up. Thanks for the questions. Santi, I just want to make one final point on AI here, because Bobby, I think it's Bobby is in the chat, brings it up. But yeah, I think that's the most innovative AI feature we're bringing online, is the ability to identify whether it's a hot dog or not a hot dog when you're looking at items in game. Very, very cool. Progressive tech.
Yeah. Using AI at its fullest, right?
That's right. That's a Silicon Valley reference for anyone out there that didn't get it. But anyway, I think it was a fantastic town hall, Santi. I do have another meeting to jump on right now, so let's wrap this one up. But stellar show today. Really appreciate everyone coming out, joining us, supporting us. To everyone on the team that participated and presented, really appreciate it, guys, and just collectively across the company. Couldn't be more proud of what's being done here. So really appreciate you all.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Just before we close, Core Episode 6 is live on Magic Eden. In case you guys are interested, I just posted the link in the chat. But now I think it's a great moment to close. This was the Town Hall number 38. As we said before, the longest I think we ever had. Lots of great information shared. And well, we have a movement test, escape velocity, next week, 4 to 6. So,
I'm hyped. I can't wait.
Yeah. We'll have a lunch party as well. I think Michael will be there with some drinks as well.
Yeah. Well, I will be in attendance.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, stay tuned. See you next week. Wednesday is going to be a great day. Thank you so much for joining. This was Townhall number 38, and see you on the next one. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Power to the people.
Stick to the man. See you guys. Bye-bye.